So once again, I did a poll, and here were the results. So we are going to be going over how to make, in my opinion, good caves, and what to do in dungeons. Bear in mind that these are my opinions, and it's perfectly cool if you disagree. So starting off with caves, what I would do is I would try to not make it linear by having multiple paths, but that's not to say you should reward the player for each and every path taken, because that would be kind of lame. Now another cool idea that I had was you enter in from one end, but you go out the other end to get to your next destination. However, you can have it set up so that you won't be able to get back, at least not right away, if you entered in through the other way. I think that's a pretty cool thing. It just kind of, like, if the player did not explore the dungeon to its fullest, and he has to wait a little bit before he can get back in the dungeon or something, it would kind of keep the player curious as to what he missed. Although they can probably just reload the game, but I digress. Having some obstacles, like pushing boulders and everything, even if it's in spots that don't really seem important, I think are kind of a good thing, because at least the player's interacting with something. He's not just walking around opening chests. Of course, pushing a boulder is no fun either, but this is just an example of what I'm talking about. Now, another thing when you're making a cave is don't make it flat. Have sections where you go up and then down and then up and down again and whatnot. Make it to where the player would want to explore it. And if the player explores deep enough, you can add monsters that are getting stronger and stronger per floor or something like that, which would be kind of cool too. Because at a point after that, like, the player will probably be like, oh well, I need to come back here later because I'm not strong enough now. And then, like, at the very end of it, you can have some kind of really nice reward, but it's like super difficult to get to. Or you can even have like an optional boss fight or something that ends up being stronger than the final boss of the game. Those are really cool things to do too, that you can do with caves. It's like, you can have it to where, like, when you go deep enough into the cave, you come across like some sort of underground temple or some other thing. Caves are really cool because, like, you can have so many different paths that can lead to so many different things, as long as it's not boring to be in. Now moving on to dungeons. Now, I didn't really take the time to make a good looking map in this dungeon that you see here on the screen now, but I just kind of made this to demonstrate what I'm going to be talking about, and that is traps. So as you can see, we have a sort of trap to where if you step on the cracks, like, you fall through. And in this example, though, it just kind of leads you back to the door, but I really wouldn't recommend just kind of warping you to the door. Instead, you should have it to where, like, it drops you in a basement or something. Like, especially if you had a basement that's really large, you can kind of have it try and match the spot where you fell. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I think that's a pretty neat trap. Just if you do this, please consider mobile users, because if you're trying to, like, click and move, then the character will just ignore the events in the pathfinding thing, and then rip. So yeah. Another cool trap is, you can see where they're a skeleton. There's like a little skeleton. It's in front of the chest there, and the chest looks different. That is kind of giving the player a hint, hey, don't open this, because if you do, well, you get damaged and whatnot. It's pretty cool. Now, another thing you should do, I think, in dungeons rather, is hidden passages. Hidden passages allow, like, for so much cool stuff. Like, the player sees an item or something, he has no idea how to get it, but then he discovers that, like, a piece of the roof looks a little bit darker or something along those lines, and then discovers how to actually get that item. Another thing in dungeons, doors. Like, if you're gonna have multiple rooms, like in this little sample map thing, whatever you do, don't have, like, perfectly fine looking closed doors, because that would make no sense. Like, if the place is kind of destroyed, well, I don't know, the dungeons don't have to be destroyed, I'm just using this as an example. These are more like ruins than dungeons, but what I'm trying to get at is, if it is damaged or aged or anything like that, I highly doubt any of the doors or anything are going to look new. Also, sometimes having empty chests are a good thing to add too. But yeah, those are my thoughts on making a good cave and dungeons. Although the dungeon map, again, like, I didn't put much effort into the mapping part. But that wasn't the point, though. The point was the trap ideas and mentioning, like, what you should do and whatnot. Alright guys, so yeah. Bye!